Not a dimension and scurried along because we're looking for the library. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
Because after I do lose my mind a little bit here, which is that like this dude who's like, haha, yes, I will tell you all of the secrets of this mission, what's going on in this place, and blah blah blah. And I've revealed myself to you, and we'll finally have a chat. Just come to me to the library tonight. I'm like, why don't you just tell me now? What is Dave? Inherently, I'm just like, where does Dave have to be? Nothing's like happening. Like we've got to prevent all the deaths and then hang out mostly. And then that day turned out to be like the most convoluted day so far, where we had to loop through it like 4 times to get different timelines to finally get through without anyone dying. And then at the end of all that, he still is like, tricked ya, haha, tee-hee, I meant the library, not that place full of books, you dummy. Go find the library. And now we have to wait for another day. You're like, Grr. Why is this guy just fucking with us?
It's just funny. It's funny that like what is a pedantic zero escape plot element of like, this is a museum. It looks like a library. We're going to maybe call it the library, but really it's a museum. And the library is a different library. It's the secret library. And that's where everything is. And it's like, okay, I guess this is actually, the game's actually doing something with that. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah. It's extremely goofy.
It is very zero escape though.
Oh yeah, this whole game's very zero escape in a way where I just like I said it like jokingly at the beginning, like it gets a little like zero escape in tone, and then it's like, oh, this game's extremely zero escape. This has a lot of zero escape going on in it. I can only imagine this is supposed to be some kind of test or something, and that he has some kind of, I'm trying to assume he has a reason for it, but it's also like, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing?
Watch it turn out that Benson is Oz. He's just like, I was testing you, my boy.
It's mainly that just like Dave needs to be like way more annoyed and argumentative about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, like, it is very weird how nonchalant Dave has been about a lot of this.
Because he's overtly being screwed over by this dumb runaround and this guy that won't just tell him stuff up front. And then even after he said he wouldn't tell people stuff up front, he was like, oh, but this one bit a bit. And then he gave exposition anyway that one morning after saying he wouldn't talk to us until the following night. And it's like, just tell me the stuff that matters already. Just do it. It's like, no, we need to meet in
funny
person.
too. It's funny too because it's not just someone being like, answer my riddles and we'll be able to progress. You'll get a prize. It's like I want to help you and your friends not die, but in order for me to help you and your friends not die, please solve my mind puzzle.
Just solve several tests. First, you have to save multiple people's lives via the system that I still won't explain to you, so you just have to intuit it out. Also, you have to not just voluntarily leave, even though it's obviously the smart thing to do. And also, you have to find the library now. Like, he keeps moving the goalposts and making it harder.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, 99% of old Daves and old timelines will not ever have made it to the end of day 8 and found the library, if that's even what happens tonight.
It's wild.
There's something to be said about how argumentative Junpei was, or like just kind of like bitchy he would get over the course of the series, because he's getting given the runaround so many times by so many like universe hopping supervillains. I headed upstairs and wandered into the museum. This was the best place to start looking, after all. I had a good reason for assuming this too. Oz knew I was here. And of all the rooms that I knew existed, there was no better to start researching. The only notable time I'd been in here recently, aside from last night, was with Sal. Not that there was any way of looking up information from what I could tell. It was better than nothing. Pulling a book at random off the shelf, I started to flick through it. I frowned, seeing nothing but pages upon pages of text regarding something. The words were long and difficult. Hey, the cover usually tells you what's in a book, if you wanted to.
I mean, even in a library like this, where it's all leather-bound books that all look the same, like, yes, Dave, you have identified what a book is. It is pages upon pages of text regarding things.
There's usually like a cover or a foreword or just something that tells you what the book is, and it's just a little wild to be like, well, I need to find where a specific room in this building is. I'll start picking up random books that could be about anything and probably aren't about this building, just like statistically. I mean, I don't know if there's any books about this building ever. I definitely don't expect any of these walls to open up because it looks like the inside of a tower, but we don't necessarily need to trust screenshots because there's humans in some of them. What is this anyway? Turning the cover in my hand and looking at the title. I really should look at the covers of books. This one's just about... Wait, mycology? I look at the book again, flipping through. Sure enough, there were pictures of mushrooms, listing what they were called, a bunch of other scientific terms about them. Ugh. This book is too hard. Can't I just have one with pictures? You mean like those pictures you just said were in it? It has pictures, Dave. It's a picture. It has pictures of the mushrooms. You just told me that. I put it back on the shelf, pulling out another one, not bothering to look at the cover in favor of checking if it had pictures first. How do you think this is gonna find a secret room in this house? Wait, this is just children's stories. What? Picture books are for children? Personally insulted. Where's the picture books for adults? You like for YouTube commenters. I stopped on a page, looking at the title. Hansel and Gretel. Alright, chat. What species are Hansel and Gretel? I thought back to when Sal and I were trying to navigate the maze. How he lay a trail behind us to get back to the entrance.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's been so long since we last read this. It's been like 3 weeks since we last read Password. At the time of recording. You asked what species are Hansel and Gretel, and we've been so distant from this that I forgot this was a furry visual novel, and I was like, they're human, Keith. They're human. What are you talking about? And then I was like, oh wait, no, that sentence isn't insane. Never mind, I understand.
It's been 3 weeks since we played this game. Did he know the stories too? We had to focus on Fear and Hunger for a bit. We had way more backlogged Password. But now was not the time for such stories. They weren't going to help me find the library. One, yes, he probably knows Hansel and Gretel. Everyone knows Hansel and Gretel. It's a very famous story, and he takes care of a younger sister and plays with his younger sister. But also, leaving a trail to not get lost is not unique to Hansel and Gretel. It's just like a normal instinct to have, and also like, you know, the golden thread of Ariadne and the Minotaur's maze, and you know, much older stories.
Doing some light reading?
He's
Great,
negging you for the children's book. He sees the fucking, like, oh, I saw an old lady who swallowed a fly book in your hands, and he's coming after you. Whoa, Roswell.
It's only me. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's why I'm worried, bud.
Doing some wandering of your own?
Half of it's that expression.
He's so creepy.
Doing some wandering of your own? I half expected you to follow the others to the pool, or even hang out with Haas and Orlando in the rec room.
Why would you think we're gonna hang out with Haas and Orlando? We haven't hung out with them basically at all this entire game.
We've hung out with Orlando for most of this game. Orlando's the second
Orlando's been around.
Yeah, he's got the second most screen time after Sal.
Yeah, but we've never been like, I'm going to willingly spend time alone with Orlando because they're the person I want to be around. I don't mean that as a bad thing. I'm just saying,
time
like,
with Orlando.
Orlando seems great. I'm sure Orlando's fine. I'm just saying, as far as we have played, we have not actually spent that much time with Orlando as a, like, person we're opting in to spend time with.
Well, maybe if we spent more time with Orlando, he'd spend less time being killed by Dragon Mafia drive-bys, which is on us if you think about it.
Yeah, it's really our fault.
Well, I just thought I'd do some research.
Oh? On anything in particular, or?
Oh,
You don't have to try so hard, Dave. A lot of these books are well beyond.
He literally is negging you. Oh my god.
Yes. Yes, he is. What?
A lot of these books are well beyond the normal comprehension level of people our age, Dave.
We're high school graduates.
We're reading a picture book. We're reading a picture book. What are you talking about?
We're already high school graduates. I think you should be able to read things by then. Like, I don't. No one like taught. I don't know. I'm a bad example to go by because I literally tested out of taking English classes, so I just didn't have to. So when I went to college, you just take the tests at the beginning, and then I just never had to take a single English class in all of college. So maybe I was just that fucking rad. I don't know, but nobody had to teach me how to read at a college level. I just after I graduated high school, you just read the books. They're in English, like they just mean things. It's like I don't. This is me being elitist. I'm elitist. I'm negging them now. Fuck it. I can still try. Oh, look at the defensive walls coming up. Look at Dave being like, look, I don't tell me I can't read. I'll definitely read. When seconds ago, he was giving up on a slightly complicated book, picture book that's just like, here's some mushrooms. This is what they're called and what they do. This is
even if it's a biology text, even if it's like a biology text, like, come on, Dave. Like, I mean this in like a sincere way, but there have been very few times when I've opened a book before, like even in like in the context of something that I don't understand, like even if I'm picking up like an anatomy and physiology textbook, like I don't open it and then go like, this is beyond me. My response is like, oh, like I don't have time to read this right now. Like this is like something that maybe I don't need to know or whatever. Like I'm never like baffled by what I find in a book. It's just there. So when him being like, this is too hard, but I can actually read, I swear. It's like, on one hand, Roswell should not be negging him, but also like, come on, Dave.
The funniest thing is that Roswell's right, because Dave was being a little baby about having a slightly complicated book, and the moment somebody else like is like, oh, don't worry, these books are hard. Like, no, I can still try. After all, after yesterday, I don't want to be the one everyone's protecting. What? Do you know how?
Remember?
No. I don't understand. I'm saying, do you know how unhinged Dave sounds right now? Because what is he? What is he?
Once again reading a book about mushrooms. It's like, I don't want to be protected. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Just because I'll remind you, like, the stakes of the story right now are that Sal vaguely believes him that maybe something happened in a dream and maybe they prevented it and it was bad, and Haas said he also has had one of these dreams. So that's a fun little like live die repeat escalation where I'm like, oh, there's somebody else that's witnessing these. That'd be interesting. We can start dealing with other people's visions. But for the majority of the cast, nothing has happened, and they have no reason to think that much will happen. So they're like, it's like, protect him from what? And how will this mycology book help with him not needing to be protected? It's just like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
No offense, but what you were claiming is a bit out there.
Right. That's why I'm looking for proof. Something. Anything to prove I'm not crazy.
Well, all right. Need some help?
I won't turn it down if you're offering, but I'm able to do it by myself, I think, given the 0 success I've had so far at finding the library.
If you say so, I'll just go look over here for some completely unrelated reason then.
Dude,
Roswell, you don't know what Dave's looking for.
Roswell trying to be passive aggressive is also very funny, because that wasn't passive aggressive, that was just outwardly aggressive that whole time.
That was just rude. Like, the most they have to go on is that he said for everyone to look for a gun.
Yeah.
And then they didn't find the gun. And Roswell has no idea what else Dave is up to. I shot Roswell a dirty look as he wandered away, snickering to himself, "Fuck you." Oh my god, Roswell.
He's so just like, so awful. I do not like this guy.
It seems as though his attitude was still lingering. The next half hour, we just looked through books in silence. At some point, Roswell picked something out and sat down on the floor, leaning against the wall as he idly read something he'd chosen off the shelf. So much for being beyond our level of comprehension. Still, I kept at it, before finding a green-covered book and flicking through it. The moment I saw floor plans, I knew I'd hit the jackpot. It
what
really
if this is just the floor?
Really is
what
about
if this is
this
like
house?
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, like, how is it? What if it was just like a textbook, a architecture textbook?
Yeah. Most of it was about the architect that built the house, but thankfully it had the original floor plans along with annotations on some notes regarding the layout. The downside, however, no library. In fact, a large portion of the house seemed to just not be here. The vault wasn't listed in the basement. Some of the rooms that I hadn't been to weren't on here, almost as if they'd added a whole extra wing as an afterthought. Damn, I thought that'd be it.
What would be it?
I hesitated, wondering whether or not it'd be best to clue Roswell in to what I was looking for, whether or not he was the one that had been here before. I shot him a look, sizing him up.
Imagine someone like doing something. They're like, "Hey, I don't want to. Like, I'm not gonna involve you in this. I'm gonna do my own thing." And then you're like, sitting there, like clearly minding your own business, kind of doing something by yourself, and they're like, "What you doing? Is everything good? Hey, what are you talking about? by yourself? Involve me." It's like, shut up, dude. Go away. Take a hint.
I was wondering if there was like maybe a clue as to how the mansion was built.
Anything in particular?
Maybe a clue to where more metals could be? They remembered the game.
What a great deflect. What a great deflect, Dave.
That no one will have to protect me anymore in the silly metals minigame. Roswell looked at me, expression blank, shy of that smile he had plastered on his face. It was hard to tell what he was feeling, but it was clear he was thinking in the silence following my question. Hidden rooms, stuff like that.
Hidden rooms, huh? Interesting.
Interesting how?
Well, the master of the house is here, so that's the only place he could be, right?
Because we haven't seen him yet?
That, and it'd explain where Benson would be disappearing to.
There's also just several rooms that are just we know exist but are off limits. What do you mean? How he was just scarce?
Well, think about it. If he was just sick, he'd just be in one of the bedrooms, right? And there are plenty of those, and we're up at different enough times that we should have seen him leaving to get some medication or even food, right?
I guess that makes sense.
In any case, secret rooms seem likely.
Huh. Well, any ideas where any could be?
Honestly, they could be anywhere. Unless you went through every room with a fine-toothed comb, you're unlikely to get one by accident.
You have a fair point. Well, the real starting point is just the fact that how, like, buildings are generally just like room to room with just a wall between them. So if you find space you can't account for between rooms, then that's probably where a secret room is.
Yes.
But aren't metals really why you're doing this? Or are you just itching for an adventure?
Is that not the same thing?
Yeah,
Like arbitrarily playing a game and trying to win the game is an adventure. That is the adventure.
I thought creating an adventure was the premise of the game that everyone got bored of immediately and stopped talking about. It's interesting that they're now retroactively interrogating the mystery of where Benson was for several days, when the whole time he was gone, they never thought about him a single time. And they're like, see, if he was sick that whole time, then he would have had to come out of his room every now and then for like medicine or something. I've created a scenario where for some reason the medicine can't be in the room he was sick in.
Yeah, like, could you never just, like, put a bottle of NyQuil on your nightstand? Like, come on, dude.
I gave Roswell a quick once-over, unsure. Gotta do something, right? Gotta do something, right? Especially after yesterday. Maybe there's something more to what's going on.
Yesterday sure was something. Not gonna lie there.
Yep, you were tearing into Ty something fierce, too.
So what if I was?
I'm gonna throw you out a window.
Yeah, you're gonna go to jail. Or I'm gonna get the Dragon Mafia to take it out on you.
Don't you think you were going a bit overboard? I've never seen you act that way. It was, well...
It was what?
You were being a bit of an asshole. Like, saying that he's unable to love? That's pretty low, Roswell.
And if it's true?
But how do you
believe I
know
voiced
it's
this
true?
character.
Have you spoken to him recently?
Why would I go and do that? You remember who he is, right? Tyson. The Tyson. Remember?
No. I don't. No one's giving me these flashbacks. No, I remember just fine. Remember? He's my friend, the one I invited on this trip, and you would just like raise an eyebrow and that was it, and didn't protest at all when you apparently are like should have been losing your entire shit at that reveal at the beginning of the game, because you really aren't happy about this, and you were that one like seemingly running this trip, like it seems like this is your trip, and you let me bring him. Remember? A week ago? It was only a week ago.
You really think that? You really think that he's...
That he's what? That he's changed?
that he's hot?
Just kidding.
Well, yes. Given his behavior so far, why would I expect that all of a sudden he's turned over a new leaf?
Because if you've been paying attention to what he's been doing so far, he's been nothing but kind to everyone.
Yeah.
He's not caused any problems.
In 8 days, he's basically been the cause of one argument where he was in the wrong, and then has spent the rest of the trip just doing everything he can to appease people, except the time that he shot Orlando. But we don't remember that because he hasn't.
Exactly.
No, what I mean is it wasn't sudden. He's been like this for a while. You were gone a long time, Roswell. Things change. He was gone for a long time? This is information
First
I don't
time we're
think we
hearing
had.
of that.
We gotta keep notes.
You can't honestly expect me to believe that you've fallen for him.
Why, one, how are we implying that? But also, two, like, why would that be a problem? Why do you need to believe that, Roswell?
Yeah. No, not that, but just,
Go on, then.
he's important to me? Roswell shook his head, sitting his book down and standing from his spot on the floor, rubbing his temples.
You have Stockholm Syndrome pretty bad, Dave.
Oh, what that means?
Not what that means at all.
Have you forgotten everything bad that he did?
Yeah, you keep saying the same sentence a lot, but not ever detailing any specific things you're mad about. What do you mean?
You can't honestly tell me that you've forgotten everything he did to us. He shaved your fur. He stapled my ears to the school notice board. He dragged you around by the tail. Need I mention the countless times that he beat you for your lunch money?
Stapler's a little upsetting.
Yeah.
That's all in the past?
What? And I'm just meant to forgive him? Oh, sorry, Tyson. Guess I should just forgive you for everything now. Dave said it was okay.
That's not what I meant.
Then what, pray tell, are you meaning?
He says pray tell on purpose.
Yeah, I was about to say. Very, what is a man of Roswell?
What is a man? What is glass but tortured sand? It's not really my place to say, is it?
Do you genuinely have a reason for him? Or are you just making excuses?
I don't know, man. People just are shits in school, and then they go on and have to have a whole life afterwards, you know? I sighed out, mimicking Roswell and rubbing my own temples. Just, when you moved away, a lot happened. Sure, Orlando was around, but Tyson was also around. Things changed. But also I learned about other things. Why he did some of the things he did.
Oh, this is gonna be good. What sob story did he tell you, Dave?
Not so much a sob story, but I was over at his place once and there was a fight with him and his dad. Kept me behind him the whole time so his dad didn't get to me, though.
What? And you just stayed there? Why didn't you run?
Because I wasn't going to abandon him, Roswell. He was hurting. Because of me, or something else. It didn't matter. You don't just abandon people in trouble.
You can't be serious.
I am. What would my dad have thought if I had left him in the lurch like that? He was in trouble, and I was the only one that could help.
So what happened after? He then tell you his life story?
No, this all happened after I knew bits and pieces. This was more proof, maybe?
Honestly, this is a piece of advice that like I think that people should actually take. And this is unrelated to the game, but like I think it's an interesting point of discussion. Is like it doesn't really matter what people's life stories are. Like you like don't need a reason to be kind to people.
No.
Like sure, like maybe someone's life story is like the key for you. Like learning about someone's circumstances can be a key to like understanding someone's viewpoint or like understanding logically why people act the way they do. But like even if someone is being like a shitheel to you, like you don't need a justification. Like they don't need a justification for that for you to be like, you know what, like whatever, it's like water under the bridge, like who cares? Like, you know, you can always just like opt to not
To just move on with your life.
Yeah, exactly. To just like not be caught up with it. And that's not saying like you should just forgive everyone point blank for everything. But like, I think especially in online spaces and in like niche communities, we're always looking for like some sort of excuse as to why like people would be acting a way to like justify their actions. When in reality, like people can be like shitty to other people sometimes. Like even it just happens, and like you don't. I'm not saying like it's okay, but like you also like don't need to get all torn up about it. Like it just happens. Like everyone makes mistakes. Like it's fine. So it's just one of those things where it's like seeing this is kind of odd, especially in a story like this. Like it's a very, these are young characters obviously, and they don't have, you know, the life experience to really recognize this, but like it's always funny to me when that's like a huge revelation for someone, is like you don't need a reason to help people or like be kind to them or like forgive them. Like even if someone hasn't changed, that's not to say you should put yourself in danger, and like, you know, if someone's like hurting you, you should spend more time with them willingly, but like if you have some sort of interpersonal conflict and then you no longer have that conflict and there isn't really danger of you having that conflict again, like you don't even really, sometimes it's okay to just be like, hey dude, like water under the bridge, dog, you know, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's just not worth holding on to forever in some of these cases. And yeah, when you talk about like online discoursey stuff, there's an approach to things where somebody, it's like the reveal, oh, somebody did something bad once, and now that's like, haven't you heard? He did that bad thing once. It hurt. We found out about that thing that he did years ago. I'm like, to some extent, it's like, okay, like unless it's like monstrous. In many cases, it's like someone was mean, or they had a bad take, or they just did not behave well in some context, and then it comes up later, like much later, and you're supposed to think that that's like worth bringing up, like rehashing, as opposed to just being like almost universal human experience where people just kind of fuck up and misbehave, or they treat someone poorly, or they justify to themselves that this or that person deserves to be treated poorly for some reason, and then years later you might not have the same perspective on that kind of behavior. And that's just, and that kind of stuff just happens. And really, like, in many cases, like, moving on and just not repeating that behavior is the quiet growth that is the most people will usually do. And that's what you look for. And, like, the idea that there's supposed to be some grand performative goodness to capstone the era of whatever the bad stuff was is just like not a real thing that happens. Like, oh, now he gives to charity and he runs a soup kitchen. Exactly. Don't you know? Like, what the fuck are you actually expecting from somebody? Like if somebody was a high school bully and then they're currently being a shithead to you, then don't deal with that shit. But if they were like a shithead when they were in like 7th grade, and now you're 19, or now you're in college or whatever, and everyone just is a different place in their life, like, I don't know, man, people are just different fucking people at that point, like, functionally.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sometimes it's just not, it's hard to say, but it's just like, a lot of like, how do I phrase this? I think a lot of people will scale up, not petty, but like micro interpersonal relationships and drama into a very macro scale read, not even of just someone's character, but like of how the world should work and like how we should all be treating each other, into this like grand sense of morality, right? And they'll be like, oh, like he was a bad person, so now we know, and he's the example of like a bad person that we should never forgive, and he's bad. And that's kind of what Roswell is doing in this case, of like kind of writing Tyson off. And I don't think the game is even taking Roswell's perspective here. Like, even our protagonist is like, Roswell, you're like kind of being a weirdo. But it's interesting because people do this. And I'm not even talking about like Twitter discourse. I'm just talking about like in general. I think a lot of people, especially young people, will like blow up interpersonal relationships and things like that into this like macro scale of like what the universe should be. But like in reality, like, I mean this in like a less bad way than it sounds. Like, not bad, but like a less serious way than it sounds. But like, there will always be people in life that you hurt, either intentionally or by accident. Like, there's literally no way to live without like having mistakes and like causing offense to people. And I'm not talking about like everyone's like racist once in a while. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like you will step on toes in your life, and people will step on toes. And like, it might hurt really bad in the moment. People might emotionally be like really hurt. In this case, it seems like Roswell's pretty physically and emotionally traumatized by whatever happened with Tyson, which totally fair. But in the grand scheme of things, like, it's kind of small potatoes, you know? Like, it's very small to think of like how much lasting impact. Because I was bullied really bad in elementary and middle school. Like, I literally had no friends until I was in high school. And like, I'm talking like I got in fights with people, like I was beaten up, like I had bad stuff happen to me, and like there was no forgiving. People just did it to do it. And if I saw those people today, I would be like, what's up, dude? Haven't seen you in a while. You want to get a beer? Like, it's just like, it's like whatever. Like, it's literally, I am so distanced from the person I was at that point, and they have such little bearing on my life. And realistically, the circumstances that they were in at that time are so different from the circumstances that they're in now that it is functionally, even karmically, irrelevant. So my advice to people is just like, realize how small stakes things are, even when they feel big and even when they hurt individually. Like, there's very little outside of like some pretty seriously egregious offenses and endangerment that, you know, people can inflict on others that make me really truly be like, you can write off this person forever, and I need some reason I need to understand the logic behind why you are the way you are. Like, it's just like, whatever, you know, it's just like, move on. It's all right. Tyson and Dave, there's a gun in this house. If Tyson was really that much of a threat, you know, Roswell could kill him with a gun. Like, it's not, that's what I'm saying, is like, there's no real serious.
Well, we don't know that, we don't know where the gun is yet, right?
No, not in this timeline. But all I'm saying is these characters are old enough and distanced enough that, like, even with whatever factor of hunky brawn that Tyson inflicts, there is no character in this setting that is as threatening as they might have been when they were young, and like a size difference and a lack of interpersonal experience gives a bully like Tyson over Roswell. They're grown ass, you know, young adults at this point. Like, they should be able to not be so threatened in each other's presence.
Like, I was bullied in school, and it was like this, it was like performative and cruel and pointless, and there was no sense to it. And like, I'm still dealing with the ramifications of that behavior, but I also understand that the actual people that did it, like, from what I understand, like, the human brain doesn't even develop properly, the part of the brain that deals with empathy and so on, until you're like in your early 20s. So like, in addition to not having like life experience and deep understandings of people, like, children are just cruel. Like, younger children will just like kill animals sometimes and just do weird fucked up things because they don't really think things through, and they just do whatever feels like appeals to them in the moment or whatever. It's like, a lot of school is just people being in weird cliques and wanting to feel good in this very sort of like proto-Twitter sort of way, where it's like there's in-groups and out-groups, and you feel good about when you mock some kind of out-group, and that often leads to just tormenting certain people just because they became the target of your social group and so on. And like, it's just weird, shitty groups. Yeah.
Well, it's like people ascribe like sociopathy to like certain, you know, people and actions when they're very young. And while it's definitely true that a lot of those markers exist, like even psychologists and psychiatrists and these, you know, quote unquote, like, you know, FBI profilers and stuff are like, it's actually really hard to tell when people aren't, like, when people are ego narcissists with sociopathic tendencies. Like, this is not... It's not something that you can just trace back, because if we trace back to like literally every human's childhood, like, most kids are shitty and hurt each other really badly.
You were
for no
probably
reason.
really mean to someone at some point and don't even remember doing it, but they probably do.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yes, in a perfect world, we wouldn't do that. And we should all strive to not be like that. But also part of that is like not holding a grudge and teaching people to hurt people in different ways, because that's all Roswell's doing here. Is Roswell's trying to performatively hurt Tyson as a means of getting back at him, because that's what he's doing. Like,
part of how shit everyone is in school is why it's, to an extent, like, this applies to both potentially the Password cast and the Echo cast and just real life and so on. It's like, a lot of the time you're better off just once you become an adult and more fully formed and ready to actually do a good job at life on some level, you're kind of, in many cases, better off just moving on and not dealing with any of the people you dealt with for the last decade, because there's just too much shit to untangle that everyone's holding against each other even though all the people that did the stuff to each other are also not the same people that are there now. And it's just too much baggage to unpack. And it's like, to some extent, I'm kind of like grateful that I just kind of moved towns, and I just don't know, even though I'm still in the same region of the same state, like I have not interacted with almost anyone from high school or college since graduating, and just have current people, and that's it, and it just works. That's just better.
Yeah.
But for me, the issue here is that it's like almost impossible to be on Roswell's side, because once again, if you have a fucking like trauma response to this guy, where was this in the intro? Like,
Yeah.
where was why was there a total lack of reaction to bringing Tyson? This should have been a huge deal if apparently, if you're going to take the angle of like physical abuse and so on and trauma, and like that it's like this huge deal, besides just like he was abstractly mean to you for a long time, but actually was like crossed a line in a big way that's a huge deal for you on a psychological level, then there should have been like a reaction, and this whole thing shouldn't have happened, which kind of gets which is part of the struggle of just like the idea that like I'm iffy on the fact that everybody showed up and then got a bus together to here, and that it had, because that does give you a really clean breaking point to be like no, as opposed to say, you know, Dave showed up in his car and Tyson was in his car, surprise, we're here, or something, or they caught an Uber together and get dropped off with just the two of them, and then Tyson's here and now it's a problem, but also he's already here and so on. I don't know.
It's just interesting as well. I think that, you know, it feels like what the game is trying to do is like, especially with all these moments where they're referencing like, don't you remember? And it's like, this is not information that is surfaced to the player, and it's implied to be stuff that Dave knows. And it's like the game is trying to signify that like, Dave is an unreliable narrator. He's not telling us everything. But the thing is that it's not giving us really any reason to doubt the things that he is telling us. It's literally just
not telling us,
excluding. Yeah, it's just omitting information, which is not, it's like he's not even an unreliable narrator. It's just that he's not narrating, you know?
Yeah, he's just
and it's very weird.
It's one thing when you plant the seed a couple of times earlier in the playthrough, like every now and then Roswell's just like, after what he did, I can't believe you're just dealing with this or whatever. Like if it comes up like once an hour or something, or even less frequently. Like there are in other stories allusions to or past events but you're not going to get into it right now. But I think Roswell hit a certain saturation level of saying it too often, where it's like, okay, yes, Dave remembers. I can't believe you don't remember. He keeps saying, I'm like, okay, well, at some point, we just need to get into it. At least mentally, Dave should actually be thinking about it in a way that we can process, because Roswell just keeps saying it, and I'm like, and it leads to this frustration for the player where you're like, yeah, apparently Dave knows what you're talking about, and no one's telling us, but I'm seemingly Dave, so I don't know why we're not getting into it. But I don't know.
It's very odd. It's odd. There's a difference between alluding to something that has happened and building your character drama off of it without telling the player. And I think that in this case, it's trying to build character drama around this unseen event, and I don't think that works really. You know.
I think I'm hoping the flashback happens soon or something, because it's starting to feel really overdue.
Yeah.
It's like how definitely. Like it was relatively quick to be like, oh, this is how we met Sal, and then I think it was hinted at like once, and then the next time it came up, we had the full flashback about meeting Sal in the parking lot and everything. Whereas this keeps getting mentioned but not coming up, and it'd be really unfortunate if it was like locked away in like one of their routes or something, and that we just don't get it if we're not playing their route or something, because it's too much in the main text outside of routes that locking the greater context away doesn't necessarily work, because it's still coming up. It's not like a thing that just comes up in that niche thing the way that like learning more about Sal does.
Yeah. I completely agree.
No. This all happened after I knew bits and pieces. This was more proof, maybe? Not that some of the things he said were stuff you'd normally lie about anyway. Like the lunch money thing.
What about the lunch money thing?
Well, probably doesn't show now, but He doesn't get to eat every meal, Roswell.
I find that hard to believe.
Okay, so maybe I invite him over pretty often to eat.
So now he's just leeching off of you at home.
It's not like that. If you didn't get to eat every meal, sometimes for a week, what would you do? Roswell, he stole from us so he didn't go hungry. Whether he wanted to or not, he didn't have a choice. Because whatever country this takes place in does not care about feeding their children.
It's America.
Yeah, it's us. It's us. We did it.
No, just kidding.
It's a good country. When his dad was blackout drunk, he showed me. The cupboards were bare. What little was in the fridge had gone off. It was real bad.
That's not an excuse.
Look me in the eye and say that, Roswell. I dare you. You've been so harsh on him that you haven't given him a chance. You don't even want to give him a chance. Yesterday was just not fair. So much that you should probably apologize.
You can't be serious. There's no way I'm apologizing to him.
What, you're just gonna keep picking fights with him? You're the smartest out of everyone here, Roswell. Doubt. So I expected you at least to know better.
What?
You heard me. Tyson can be a jerk, but yesterday you were more of a jerk than he's been lately.
Finally, Dave has a fucking spine about something in this cast. Jeez.
I let the comment hang in the air for a bit. Roswell went to speak a few times, the words just not coming. Instead, he resigned to pulling at the fur of his chin instead. Okay, that was double instead. I was like, am I saying it? Okay. I felt uncomfortable confronting Roswell like that. There was history. I knew that. But with him being gone so long, it just didn't seem right that he'd been holding on to things that happened so many years back. So, was there a reason? Anything? Did he do something recently, or?
No, not that. There's a reason.
Is it a good reason?
Probably not, in all honesty. I've just been overly conscious of something as of late.
Something that's worth taking it out on Ty?
I was voted the least popular character in this game.
Did you skip a line? It looked like, I can't tell if it was Discord being weird or not. No? Okay.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I just keep thinking to myself, time. How much do I have left? How much do we have left?
This is the kind of thought process that would motivate you not to hold a grudge against Ty.
Yeah.
What sort of time? Before we part ways? The vacation?
Death.
That is especially a reason not to hold a grudge against Tyson.
Yes.
Life's so short, so I'm gonna hate him for every minute of it.
We have so little time left, Dave.
We're
I
both
wonder
young.
if time is going to be a password.
Maybe. How can you possibly think that?
Cause I'm stabbing you right now, Dave. Remember the password, time.
Countless possibilities for tragedy around every corner. I feel the shadow of the Grim Reaper lingering over us more and more as time goes by. I wish I could say that this was just some shtick that I'm pulling like I would to get a rise out of Orlando, but I genuinely have this sense of dread about things.
Then why
I
won't
have
you...
an undiagnosed anxiety disorder.
Oh no, it's me. Why don't you take me seriously then when I bring up the actual thing about wait, this is both a reason not to be taking things out on Ty, and it's a reason to take everything that Dave says more seriously because it corroborates the feeling you're having.
Yeah.
Roswell, why are you like this? Ugh. Nothing in particular, just in general?
Someone's going to die, Dave. I can't tell you how I know, but I know.
I already know how you know.
I don't know who either. You, me, or one of the others. It could be anyone.
Then why antagonize Ty? He didn't deserve what you pulled yesterday.
It's not that, just if I were to die tomorrow, even if he were to die tomorrow, I'd just want to try and balance things out.
What the fuck are you talking
What does that
about?
mean? An eye for an eye? Like, I'm gonna take him with me. Like, what do you mean by that? That was about balancing things out?
Yes.
Because to me, you just seem to be being a dick for no reason.
What does he even mean by balancing things out? He's talking about like karma?
Yeah, like does he mean he wants to retroactively balance out how like the score for how much of a dick Tyson was in the past?
He wants to get even?
Like he wants to catch up. His response to the idea that time on life on Earth is short is to think, I better catch up and be as mean to this guy as he was to me in middle school. I gotta catch up with that. I better bully him back, or he'll win. He will have won when we die. That's what he's thinking. Oh my god, Roswell's the worst character I've ever met.
You want to talk about actual sociopathic behavior? Holy smokes, what
Jesus
a vindictive
Christ.
nerd.
That's so much more intent than Tyson would have ever had.
Oh, completely.
Excuse me? He had it coming.
Not to the extent you went to. You seemed to get in whenever you could with one thing or another. And I don't want to see it happen again.
And this is why I'm gonna kill you right now.
You realize that he's just been leeching off of you this whole time, right?
Wow, really? Roswell almost made it to a breakthrough a second ago when he was like,
You're kind of right, Dave.
here's what's been on my mind. And then he actually just heel turned and walked just fully back in the other direction.
Yeah, he's like incapable of growth as a person, practically. Like, he cannot acknowledge at all the really obvious. Like, it's. The scenario. Even though they held back on the information, I feel like the scenario has functionally been like just too obvious to the player, and so he just seems insane.
Completely.
What is the? There's not a lot of ambiguity and gaiety here. He's just being a huge asshole. No, he hasn't.
What? And you think there's some noble reason that he's the way he is? Some excuse he's fed you?
Literally, did we not just have this conversation?
Yes, I don't. Wait.
Does he have short-term amnesia? What the hell is happening?
This reads like multiple drafts that are merged together.
Yeah.
It's like when when I'm writing a video essay, sometimes I'll just I'll realize I want to put a paragraph somewhere, and I'll often write entire sections non-linearly, and so I'll often just kind of hold enter for a bit and just create a big space that I'm going to write in because I want to follow up on this particular paragraph, and then I maybe go somewhere else, and then sometimes I'll realize that I've when I kind of scroll down to what I had down below that I kind of forgot it was down there, I'll realize that I kind of rewrote a couple paragraphs, but in different phrasing and kind of going in a different momentum direction, but saying the same sort of bullet points. And then I have to pick which version to actually keep and which one to get rid of. And this conversation with Roswell feels like they just got rid of the empty lines and just put them end to end. So we're kind of, it feels like we just restarted the same conversation with the same beats and the same questions and the same excuse. And then I half expect him to be like, did you forget what he did to us? Again?
Yeah, exactly.
He's looping. He's Roswell is failing the Turing test.
Oh, completely. He's an AI.
Yeah, he's like the Umbrella Academy mom. Where she just resets the conversation and you're like, oh, she's not okay. I don't need anything he said as proof. I've seen it, Roswell. I just told you that. I've seen firsthand what his dad does to him for no reason. I've seen how bare his cupboards are. I've seen him be scared as you or me. I've seen him be as scared as you or me for the smallest things we take for granted.
Like what?
I'm so confused.
Like having a safe place to sleep, what with the abusive father and whatnot. Have you never heard of child abuse before? Is that the context? Like you're not auto-filling the rest of the scenario. We have to like spell out what it's like to have an abusive person in your household all the time. And not having to worry about going hungry, the thing I said already. If he told me that when we were kids, I'd have trouble believing him, but having seen it?
So, he had a reason this whole time to treat us like dirt, and I'm just meant to forgive him?
I'm
To some extent, yeah.
my brain is melting with this. This is
No,
so
I'm
weird. Why is he repeating himself?
No, I'm serious. Like Roswell failed the Turing test. Like he's acting like you went down a different dialogue tree in a Skyrim, and some of them have like repeat the same beats and so on.
Yeah.
Like,
Have you heard there are vampires in Whiterun? Like, what? What?
I mean, asking for a nuclear winter.
And why's that?
Because like it or not, Roswell, I nodded to myself, knowing full well where I'd place Tyson, staring down Roswell. Family.
You can't be serious!
I am. He's important to me. Maybe like a brother if I had to pick something, but maybe something different entirely, but he's still important to me. And if you're gonna make me choose between the two of you, then, well...
Is it really going to come to an ultimatum?
Yes,
Roswell,
obviously. I
You
don't want to talk
made
to
an
you
ultimatum.
anymore.
You
Yes.
did this. You literally were like, it's gotta be me or him. Like, what are you doing?
It better not, because I'm not picking sides. I mean, you just
Okay,
said...
Dave, you literally just
you
did.
just
but-
said this. You just said this, Dave, one line ago. You just like... You like drew a line in the sand, and you're like, "Why is that line in the sand? What's that? Who put that there?
I'm not drawing a line in the
What's
sand.
that mean?" Just know that if you put me in a position where I have to pick, I'm gonna have to weigh up the fact that someone's making me choose to abandon someone, if if they're worth keeping around. Roswell looked me over. I could see him searching me for an answer, as if he wasn't completely sold that I was being genuine on that claim. Look, just... no more pot shots at Tyson. He's been good so far, right?
What about the other day?
What about the other day? I'm not an idiot, Roswell. You were pressing his buttons deliberately. Doubt on
You can't prove that?
That fucking face he's making. Oh my god, I want to throw him into the orbit. You're right, I can't. But I know Ty, and I know you. And I know that you know he wouldn't kick up a fuss about the wolf and dog thing unless provoked about it. Why would you rile him up like that anyway? Was it to try and get him to hurt you on purpose? This is interesting. They're taking the only moment where Ty was in the wrong, and they're implying that even that was definitely not him in the wrong. Okay, that only stacks the deck further against Roswell. Are you jealous? Are you trying to get rid of him? What?
Okay, fine, I'm jealous.
I've been seeing you spend all your time with Sal and decided to take it out on Tyson.
It would make more sense if we were in the Tyson route, but...
Yeah.
We were friends first. He's a terrible person. And I hate that I didn't clear who you wanted to bring first.
You had plenty of outs, dude.
You had so many outs. No, you need to accept that he's changed, or at the very least give him a chance. I can't make you apologize, but I think you owe it to him. Or if not an apology, promise me you won't go making it hard on him on purpose. If he acts up, then by all means, but don't go picking fights with him.
I'm just waiting for Roswell to be like,
And what, you're taking his side now? Like he had a reason to be as mean as he's been being?
Don't tell me you've forgotten what he did to us.
Just an hour into the conversation, like, okay, oh man.
yeah.
Fine.
Roswell started to grumble, kicking the ground.
I'll try.
You mean it? He sighed out, retrieving his book and dusting it off, tucking it under his arm.
It's not easy to let that go. I want to see proof from him that he's gotten better.
That's what behavior is. He's given you a week of proof, Roswell. You're not willing to trust me on this?
Not really. Those scars run deep. I want an apology from him just as much.
So if you apologize to each other?
I'll consider it.
Now, Kith.
We're here for a month, so logically speaking, you're right. It makes no sense to be at odds given proximity.
I've taken a full fourth of the trip to register this. He wandered past me towards the entrance of the museum. Where are you going?
To my room, to read.
You know we have a conservatory for that. And the apology?
You're not my mother nor my therapist, Dave.
I'm not trying to be, but you're my friend, and I'm trying to help make things better.
Well, let me work through it on my own.
I reached out in vain to stop him from leaving, but he strode out of the room with purpose.
Dave, why'd you try to stop him from leaving? You literally didn't want him in here anyway.
Ooh, boy. What a mess. Well, we did it.